All right. Thanks for joining everybody. Don't have a big agenda today. New time, and I think we're probably gonna need to get some folks sorted out to and do a better job of communicating this now that folks more in the western parts of the US should be able to make it. But um I think they're just sort of dig in. Kavi, I think you've got the IP matcher design doc. You want to talk about that?
Yeah, sure. So just let me open that. Yeah, I mean, yeah, the idea is like just to make it public and get the feedback from the community. So yeah, I can just quickly explain the problem and yeah, propose solution basically.
Yeah.
So we are also tracking that in the issue, which also linked in the recent talk. So yeah, the basic idea is like we are trying to provide a built-in simple IP matcher for Loki so that we can query via LockUL. So how we are doing now is usually we search for using a line matcher, right? If it is a single IP, or we use some kind of request if you want to match multiple IPs or like yeah, so with a wildcard and stuff like that. So yeah, the problem with that approach is like usually it's hard to come up with the proper request. Plus, also it doesn't have any support for CIDR pattern, right? So if you want to find if you have like some kind of net mask or something, and you want to grab all the IP within that range, so there is no way to do it. Like yeah, at least the existing solution is kind of like ugly as far as you know. So yeah, which usually like turns up into like some copy pasting some request from Stack Overflow. Usually, yeah, there is a high chance it can be like wrong or something. So that's actually the problem we're trying to solve. And the proposed solution is like have a single function called IP, which can be used in both label matcher and also line matcher. And this IP function takes a format of pattern, right? And that pattern can be in one of the three forms, which also we explained in the design talk. So it can be a single IP, or it can be a CIDR pattern, right? So both for IPv6 and v4. And additionally, it can also be like a range pattern. Like if you know exactly what range the IP belongs to, just a lower and higher range. So yeah, these are the three pattern we are planned to support, at least for now. And yeah, that's basically it. And yeah, here are some examples. uh, there are still some open questions basically. For example, do we allow multiple IP function in the same local query, or we combine the patterns with a comma? For example, it can be IP of pattern 1 comma pattern 2 pattern 3, or it will be IP pattern 1 then pipe IP pattern 2 IP pattern 3. So yeah, those are like small things like we want to get it right even in the first iteration, I think. So yeah, I think that's it. And also there is one more open question, like because if you have a IP, there are like so many crazy versions you can represent this IP in, right? So there is a good link which D shared in the design doc. You can read more about it. Like yeah, there are some crazy formats that ideally the IP representation supports. But yeah, we can keep it simple. For example, one simpler solution would be support the same format which Go IP parser supports, right? Which also added a small comment there for people who are interested. So it's just a three format basically, like a dotted notation, hexadecimal, and a mix of both basically. So yeah, and those are the two question. I think maybe if anyone has better idea, feel free. And
Um,
yeah, that's it basically. So yeah.
okay. Thanks, Kavi. Yeah, that design doc, we should make it, if we haven't, make sure it's open for public comment. And
Yeah, it's open
basically,
for
we
public
need
and
to
comment.
figure out like any good language discussion, kind of figure out what we think the best set of trade-offs there makes everybody happy. Richie, I see you joined, so I guess I'll let you make a comment on your entry here, or I can if you don't want to.
Which, sorry,
There's a issue. Well, I don't know that you added it to the doc, but there is the support for built-in matchers.
yeah. So several aspects to that topic. Um, if you click on it, and if you click through to the other issue 2722, that talks about matching IPs ready-made. But I think this goes farther. There we would like to know what other commonly used things would be useful as a matcher. Email addresses come to mind. Does this line contain an email address, or just match email addresses so I can extract them, or what have you? There is certain to be other things. We got the suggestion to look into what Greylog is matching, because Greylog is obviously a log matching tool. So there is precedent of people putting stuff in there, and we can steal from this. But we would also be interested in other specific use cases which we can support by creating ready-made matchers, which obviously enables you to be quicker about writing your queries, but also makes mistakes less often. Like in particular, IP address matching can be super intricate even before you add IPv6 with like compression and the colon for port and for the address, blah 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 blah. But there's certain to be others. So that's what we want to know. Also, if you're on YouTube, just create issues and tell us so we can do this. Yeah.
Nice. Thank you, Richie. Ivana, you're up. You want to talk about Grafana 7.5?
Yeah, so we actually just released it a couple hours ago, and I was thinking about sharing a couple of Loki related updates. I can share the screen to show it. This one. Okay. So the first thing that I would like to cover is Loki alerting. So for Grafana open source Grafana, we were supporting alerting in the graph panel for various data sources, but this wasn't done for Loki. So in this recent release, we have added a backend for Loki, and therefore it enables alerting. So you are able to create metrics query and basically create alert on those. So as for example, Prometheus or Influx or any other data source. So that's one update. I'm going to have three updates. The second one is label browser. Let me here.
Well, all these are super cool, but this one was fun. I was playing with it yesterday.
So if you remember previously, there used to be a little like cascader button, but we have decided to replace it with this label browser, which allows you to, for example, if you know what value are you looking for, but you don't know in which label it is. So for example, if I was looking for run log, but I wouldn't know if it's in job or job name, I'm able to kind of open the values for all of these labels, and I'm able also to search it in here. So it's like I have very tiny log instance here, but it highlights and shows the matched values for those labels. And you are at the end able to either show logs, so we would run this query, or you are able to run the show logs rate, and it would create a rate query for you. So that is log browser. And the last update or last change isn't strictly related to Loki, but also to like all data sources that support logs. And that is escaping of unescaped characters. So we have had a couple issues in Grafana with users who had incorrectly escaped logs. I'm talking about new lines and tabs, but it was very hard for them to escape them. And they asked if there was a way how we could do it in Grafana. And on client side, it is hard to know if it's actual new line or if it's just the same pattern. So we have decided to create this experimental feature, and we are definitely looking for feedback on that. So if we run the log query. So if your log lines have possibly incorrectly escaped new lines, this button and this message is displayed. we are trying to inform users that they probably have incorrectly escaped new lines, that as a first step, or the best option is to fix it directly in their logging database. But if they can't do that, they can escape it right here. And let me see, which are the logs with so for example, here you can see we have incorrectly escaped new line, and it escaped it. Let me see again. Yeah, so for example, this line is going to be escaped. And you can escape new lines and tab. And as I mentioned, this is going to be displayed only for the logs that possibly have this problem. But if you would run logs that don't have this pattern, it wouldn't be displayed here. And that's all from me.
Nice. For sort of both of the, or even I guess for all three, but probably for the label browser and the unescaping, if people have feedback, what's the best place to provide that?
We are definitely looking for all feedback. If it's small thing, big thing, let us know. And the best place is the Grafana repo. So directly Grafana/Grafana. Just create an issue and we will look at it. And as I mentioned, today was a beta release. So we have this, I think 2 weeks is the beta period. We have this time to polish this feature. So yeah, let us know if you have any feedback.
Thank you. All right, so I added this at the end here because it's lucked and about on cadence for when I talk about a release and then we actually do it, because it was a month ago we talked about 2.2 and basically started the work of that today. I don't think it'll be done maybe tomorrow. Might end up finishing it this weekend or Monday, but 2.2 is in good shape. We've been running tests on it now this week and part of last week. The other thing I would mention that sort of got added at the last minute here that may be useful and something that people are well, yeah, you'd have to have a latest master build to try it out, but I think it's reasonably stable now, though, this pack unpack idea, where we've had some few forms of this in the past where people have some label data that they don't want to make labels. So usually this is the case with kind of high cardinality data. The use case we're really targeting with adding this right now is ephemeral workloads, systems that create lots of file names and lots of log source, in a very short period of time. Usually file name or some close derivation of that makes a label. But if you are changing a lot of those frequently, it ends up causing some index great grief for Loki. So what pack does is take labels you specify and put them inside the log line. We wrap the log line in a JSON object, and then on Grafana's side, or in the query language in Loki, we have an unpack parser, which will automatically return the log line that was wrapped and make the labels that were packed as labels, logql queryable labels. So more to come on this. It is in some ways not an ideal solution for this problem. Ultimately, as we evolve Loki's index and store, we want to be more accommodating to handling more series with low volume, but currently you can get yourself in a lot of trouble generating a lot of log streams rather than series, especially when they have small amounts of data in them. So that is all I had on the list today. So anybody have anything else that comes to mind? Questions? Anything else we can add to the agenda, or this can be a rather short call?
I'm fine with it being a pretty short call today.
I like the new time. However, it's lunchtime for me, so I'm also happy to go eat lunch. Going once, going twice. Yeah, well, now that we do have this time, and I think we're probably going to be happy with it, we'll do some more kind of, I think, promotion around it next time, and see if we can come up with a little bit longer list of things to talk about, or tell your friends and add some stuff to the doc. And we'll see everybody in a month. So thanks for joining, everybody. Have a great day.
Take care.